Hello, I'm Josie Terry, and this is Northern Student TV. Our first segment is Two Gingers. Sydney and Emily will be sharing freshman horror stories. Their guest speaker, Kayla, will be giving a surprise question of the week. Let's take a look.
This is On Location with Sydney South
and Emily Dukek.
Our topic for today is freshman horror stories.
So I have a couple. I'm going to start off with the first one, which isn't it's more embarrassing. It's not a horror story. But I was wandering around campus towards the end of my freshman year, and apparently I just had the most lost puppy dog look on my face ever. And there was a group of high school students taking a tour of campus, and the tour guide walks over to me and she puts her hand on my shoulder and she's like, "Oh, honey, are you lost? You can just join on into our group. We'll find your school." And I was like, "Oh, no, I go here. I'm a freshman. I've been here for a year." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then I just awkwardly walked away.
Yeah, that sounds pretty traumatic. So my horror story is I was walking to Hag's Hour with a group of my friends, and I decided to look nice that day, put some heels on, wear a cardigan, trying to look presentable. Big mistake. I trip and fall. My backpack falls over the top of me. My friends keep on walking on without me, and the people behind me are staring at me, and I'm looking behind, and super embarrassing. So don't wear heels to class, because otherwise your friends will leave you.
Mine also has to do with clothing, my second story. It was fall semester freshman year, and it was the second summer of fall, because it was cold and all of a sudden it got hot. But it was cold that morning, and I had a morning class. So I went to class in leggings and Ugg boots and a sweatshirt and a Columbia zip-up. I was just ready to go. I was prepared for fall. And by the time I left class, it was no longer cold. It was 78 degrees. And I had to walk from Deputy all the way back to Oak. And by the time I made it back to Oak, I was drenched in sweat. I looked so gross. I took my jacket off, and I had sweat from all the way down to my armpit, all the way down my sides of my sweatshirt. It was not a good look on me. Also, be sure to send in your request on what you want us to talk about for next week.
This was On Location with Sydney South
and Emily Dukek,
reporting on the BSU campus, asking students what they thought of the past Minnesota Vikings game.
It was an amazing game. It was really fun to watch. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. It's weird that it ended in a tie, but come the 25th, it's going to be an awesome game. Rematch. It's going to be really cool to watch.
What I thought of the game was it was pretty good. It was intense. I enjoyed it, though.
For the Vikings firing their kicker, I don't know if it was right. It's cutthroat industry, but he did not perform up to standards, so not my choice, though.
I do believe that it was a good idea to fire their kicker.
For the Vikings, how it's going to play out, gosh, I don't know. Whoever the Vikings play next is coming into a buzzsaw, I think. It's going to be, Vikings are, they're good. Don't get me wrong, they're good. But it's just going to be, it's going to be scary. I think they're going to dominate.
I think that they will continue going forward just by hiring someone new and just keep working on what they're doing, and they'll do just fine.
I'm just really looking forward to the 25th, the rematch. I think it'll be a really fun game to watch.
Thanks, ladies, for those terrifying horror stories and that surprise question of the week. Next, let's tune into sports with CJ.
This is Sports with CJ. Hello, I'm CJ Baumgartner. Today, the Bemidji State University women's soccer team took on St. Cloud State. They came out, as you can see here, 3-2, getting 2 goals from Rachel Norton and 1 from Danny Nelson. BSU came out 3-2, and now they're undefeated on the season. Their record goes to 5-0 on the year, and they're undefeated with a 2-0 record in the NSIC Conference. Next week, they're going to have to go south as they play Upper Iowa and Winona State next weekend, respectively. BSU is an interesting story because they came into the season unranked after making the NCAA tournament for the first time in program history last year. Last week, they entered the rankings at number 22 in the country in Division II, and this week moved their way up to 14th in the coaches poll. Hopefully, after this weekend, we'll have another rising in the standings. For NSTV Sports, I'm CJ Baumgartner. Back to you, Josie.
It looks like the Beavers soccer team is the latest sports to watch. Thanks for the update, CJ. For our last segment, we will be turning to fishing with Eric for some tips and tricks on how you can improve your fishing tactics.
Hey guys, my name is Luke Gillen with the BSU fishing team. So today, because of the weather, we're just going to be at the house talking about what we like to do for flipping, pitching for largemouth bass up in the North Country here. So I'm just going to go over two of the main things that I like to flip personally. Jig with the trailer, and then just a simple Texas rig. So today we're just going to kind of go over the basics of it, what we're going to use for the rod and reel, and then some of the items that we use for. This is one of the main flipping setups that I like to use. One of the key things to use is a high-speed gear ratio, either a 7:3 or to 8 1:1. I usually use a bigger rod, 7.4 to a 7.6 medium heavy or a heavy power. It's just a little bit beefier to get them out of the thick cover. As far as line goes, I use 50 to 65 pound braid. I prefer the Suffix 832. It doesn't dig as much, and I've never had any problems with it. So that's one of the main flipping setups that I like to use, and we're going to get into how to tie it here in a sec. So we're going to start off by showing you how to tie just a simple Texas rig. So what we're going to do here first is you got a bobber stop. These are from VMC. So you take that, and there's these little loops on here, and you take and you thread your line through there, and then you grab the stop and you pull it onto your line. Okay, slide it up a bit because you're going to need some line to tie it on, tie the hook on and everything. Then you take your weight. This is a tungsten. I usually use a 1/2 ounce. It's kind of my go-to standard. I'll go heavier or lighter depending on the cover. So you thread that on there next. And then I prefer a straight shank hook. There's a few different types of hooks that you could use, a straight shank, a EWG. For flipping, I like a straight shank. I think you get a better hookup ratio. And then with a straight shank, I tie a snell knot. It takes a little bit longer to tie, but I think it's worth it, and I'll show you why here in a minute. So you take and thread it through there. I grab it right here to make a loop, and then I wrap it 6 or 7 times around the shank. 5, 6, 7. Okay. Then you got the loop here that I had in the finger, and then you take the tag end. You send it through the loop, and you pull your main line. There's your snell knot. It's not going to get in the way of the weight at all. It's all on the shank. You take your cutters here. Dig in. So this is why I like to tie a snell knot. So you bring your bobber stop down. When you set the hook, I don't know if you can see it, but when you set the hook, the hook will come up into the weight, and it'll drive it up into the roof of the mouth of the fish. So you get a better hookup ratio that way. And then you just take any type of flipping bait. This is just a beaver style bait. You thread it on there through the nose, pop it out the back end, thread it up, and you just take it, stick it in there. So the point doesn't end, or is still in the plastic. Then when you set the hook, it'll pop right out. So there's a Texas rig. One of my favorite ways to fish in heavier vegetation. Works really good and have a lot of success on it. Alright guys, so that was 2 of my favorite ways to fish shallow up here. Hopefully you guys learned something. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Until next time, thanks for watching Northern Student TV.